We're looking at ethnic politics and the security in the north central of Nigeria. Thoughts for the national conference as it's going on. And I have joining me on the set now Captain Umar Aliyu, a former officer in the Nigerian Army. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you.
And I have a lecturer from the University of Jos, Professor Prt1. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you too.
From our Abuja studio, I have a former presidential candidate and a delegate of the north central of the country to the national conference, Mr. John Dara. Thank you for joining us on Politics Today tonight. Well, let me start with you.
It's my pleasure to be with you. Good evening,
if you can hear me. The situation that we see in the north central part of the country is a major issue, isn't it? Because what we've seen in the past few days in the northeastern region of the country, a lot of people understand is insurgency. And the situation or the mindset of insurgents, some people are trying to get understanding of it. But this time around, when these clashes come up, we seem not to even understand what is a major issue for the attackers killing people every day and burning houses. What do you make of the situation in the region?
I think we as a people have treated the issue of our national security with too much levity. We recall that late Muammar Gaddafi, out of ignorance, once propounded the theory that Nigeria is too big, it should be broken up. We should therefore know that we have, even among our neighbors, people who do not wish Nigeria well. But their own threat will have been insignificant, if not because of our self-inflicted divisions, self-inflicted hatred, self-inflicted crisis. I believe that the problem in the country is multidimensional, and therefore it demands concerted effort by all well-meaning Nigerians in order to bring it under control.
Thank you so much. But, I mean, just a moment before we come back to you. You are a delegate there. You're one of the delegates of the North Central region of the country. We'll come back. Some of these experts here in the studio with me will be sharing thoughts on the situation of things. Professor Tor, you are from Benue State,
yeah, and
you have been living in Plateau State. And these are two states that are seeing a lot of issues, basically on the issue of insecurity, of ethnic clashes between the nomadic Fulanis and the farmers around this region. What do you make of it?
Well, the truth about it is, first of all, let me agree totally with the opening statements by Honorable Dara. I think very profoundly we have kind of jettisoned our own security or compromised our security in this country for obvious reasons. And many reasons of selfishness, interests of ethnic dimensions, and intrigues of religiosity to that extent. The situation in Plateau and Benue, for those of us who have been in Plateau State for this while, when the issues began, we saw a dimension, and our fear was that what we were seeing happening in Plateau State was likely going to distill to somewhere. And for some of us, we could see that the destination was Benue State. At a point, you saw a situation as if you're dealing with Fulani herders. At another point, you saw a situation as if you were dealing with a religious crisis. At another point, you were seeing a situation as though the underlying factors were an attempt to undermine or to occupy people's ancestral space. So all this kind of contributed to the larger crisis that we're facing in this country today. So if you find people talking about ethnicity, it is not just about ethnicity, it is also about other contributing factors, which I think we may have to discuss in the course of this program.
All right. let's give an understanding to our viewers who are watching, who are somewhat not been into that region where you are from and where you live. For someone like me, I've not been to Plateau State in a long time, and my understanding is that that's a war-torn area. But when you came on, I saw you today, you told me a different story about that region. Give us a sense of what the situation is essentially in that area.
I think this is also part of the deliberate attempt also that some of us have argued, especially with the media, to kind of turn Plateau State into a war town. Of course, when events were persistent, we argue that we're likely seeing Plateau State being used as a rehearsal ground for Nigeria's second civil war because of the turn of the frequent and routine crises there. But beyond that, some of the media hypes that we saw are not what happened in Plateau State up to today. As of today, I can tell you that if there's one of the freest places you want to go to, it's Plateau State. I can tell you that the traffic in Plateau State can keep you on the road for like 30 minutes. And I can also tell you that there's a huge population of people who have migrated from Borno, Gombe, and Yobe in Plateau State today. So when people talk about crisis in Jaws on a daily basis, I'll ask myself, where is this information coming from? Of course, from time to time, we have pockets of attacks around the periphery, around the communities. But these are not as daily as we expect, even though when they happen, not many people are happy that with the population of security men there over the years, we still have these things happening. It's unacceptable.
So, I mean, before we have the intervention of Captain Umar, the situation we have in the Northeast, people say Boko Haram, and what they are asking for is a Western education, I mean, the scrapping of Western education in that particular region, which, I mean, people are getting an understanding of, and the state is actually fighting those attackers. But what exactly is the problem? Is the yearnings of the attackers? Why are they doing what they are doing?
Well, it's difficult now to even understand the yearning of attackers. At one point...
Do we even know who these attackers are?
We don't seem to even know because, and again, we're part of this problem. We are part of this problem because when this started, the elites, and I must say, the political elites, the religious elites, the traditional rulers and religious leaders in this part of the country were silent. They never spoke about it, or they pretended not to know what was going on. Initially, the picture that was created was as though Boko Haram, these are people who are not interested in Western education. But while pursuing this, the focus was on the complete obliteration of Christians, minorities that were there, and even those that were settling in this place. Now, beyond that, as soon as they had gone past this stage, it became very clear that they were not only dealing with people who were outside the state, but they started also raping and maiming even their own people. And I think when that happened, it was a kind of a wake-up call for the indigents of this place, the political elites and religious leaders, that, wait a minute, we thought these people were fighting a religious cause, but this kind of thing is un-Islamic.